Growing up with immigrant parents is not easy at all. Documentary, I want to show that you are not alone if you have immigrant parents, and that if you don't, to get a perspective of what it is like to have immigrant parents. I will have an interview with my grandparents and I will share my personal experience of this.
Como a los 18,
¿Y cuando te viniste a los Estados Unidos, te viniste solo o con quién te viniste?
con amigos,
¿A dónde fuiste primero cuando pasaste todo?
a Phoenix,
¿Te fuiste a
por
Phoenix?
Arizona,
¿Y cuánto duraste allí en Phoenix?
2 años,
2. ¿Y a qué edad tuviste a mi mamá?
25,
Y después de tener a mi mamá, ¿a dónde viviste?
a Wyoming, y luego Colorado,
Y luego a
y
Nuevo México.
luego Luisiana, y luego Nuevo México.
¿Y tú crees que la vida era muy diferente aquí que allá?
Sí,
¿Cómo?
pues la vida es más dura en México, porque allá pues no, por lo que ganas en todo el día apenas comprar una comida para la familia.
Y por eso te decidiste venir para acá.
Ajá.
¿Y aprendiste el inglés luego o duraste bastante para aprenderlo?
Duré bastante.
Y
Aprendí mucho en el rancho.
en el rancho. ¿Y tú crees que mi mamá batalló creciendo porque tuvo que ayudarles a ustedes así como traducir papeles o así?
Ajá.
Sí. ¿Tú dirías que la vida de mi mamá fue muy diferente a la de muchos de los que crecieron aquí toda la vida? Que no tuvieron papás que se cruzaron. Sí.
Sí, pues tuvieron todo acá. No es como uno allá que viene así sin nada.
Like my grandpa said, no one will ever understand what it feels like to grow up in an immigrant household or to be immigrants if they personally haven't experienced it or gone through it with someone that they're close to. He came at such a young age and he managed to make it happen and make a future for him and his kids. Now I will interview my grandma about her experience. Bueno, ¿a qué edad te cruzaste de México para acá a los Estados Unidos?
¿A qué edad?
Sí,
A los 20.
a los 20. ¿Y te cruzaste sola o con quién?
Con tu papá.
¿No más?
Y pues, ¿quién nos traía? El coyote, un primo.
¿Y tú, después de venirte a los Estados Unidos, a dónde te fuiste a vivir primero?
A Wyoming.
¿Y luego?
Y luego de Wyoming a Luisiana.
¿Y tú, para ti fue muy difícil venirte para acá?
Mucho.
¿Por qué?
Por dejar a mi mamá y por lo que batallamos para cruzar.
¿Te arrepientes de venirte para acá?
No,
¿Por qué no?
porque aquí es donde salieron adelante mis hijos.
¿Y tú crees que es más difícil tener papás inmigrantes que tener papás que que ya vivían y nacieron aquí?
Espérame, ¿cómo?
Que si tú crees que la vida de mi mamá fue más difícil que la vida de alguien que creció con papás de aquí.
Que la vida de tu mamá es más difícil.
Que fue muy difícil para ella, para como porque tenía que ayudarles con los papeles que ustedes no entendían.
Sí.
¿Te gustaría vivir para atrás en México?
No.
¿Por qué no?
Bueno, sí, por mi mamá, pero no porque no me gustaría.
¿No te gustaría? ¿Y
No.
tú crees que muchas personas digan que vean a los inmigrantes como algo mal o algo positivo?
Algo positivo,
¿Por qué?
porque somos trabajadores.
I think that now that I have you guys have seen a little interview between me and my grandpa and me and my grandma. It's time for me to share my experience. Every day since I was able to understand what immigrant meant, I would wake up with fear. I would get up in the early morning before my grandparents would go to work, and I would just pray that they would come back home because I never knew what would happen. They always prepared me for the worst. They always told me, hey, you know what, like, sometimes we can get stopped and it will be okay. But if something does happen, you gotta be prepared. They showed me at an early age how to work with government paperwork. They showed me like where my birth certificate was. They showed me everything that it was a necessity at the time for me to be okay if something did happen. I was about 12 years old, or 11 or 12, not sure, when my mom came into my room and we had this long discussion of if something did happen that I was gonna have to know where everything was, and she showed me, and we went over every document in the folder she had. She showed me that where our house paperwork was. She showed me everything that if something did happen in any scenario, I would be okay and I would be prepared. Now that I see many people who do have immigrant parents have probably have this talk that it just might be a day that something happens and they just don't come back home, and you gotta be mentally prepared, and that's okay. But you have to be prepared. Lesson. You just have to be prepared. And I think that I hope that my message comes out that if you do have immigrant parents, you are not alone. And if you don't, well, I hope you understand the perspective and get to realize that there's people who, at the age of 10 years old, had to learn how to become a translator for legal papers that just didn't make sense to you. And you had to, in some way, explain it to your parents who also didn't understand anything. And I think that for me, I was lucky because my mom did grow up here in the United States. But I still always have that fear of what if she doesn't come home, or where is my mom right now? And it's just something horrible that I had to live with. And thankfully now my fear has gone down because she does have DACA and my grandparents are residents. But it's still something that I get scared of when I think about, and I don't like that. But knowing that I'm not alone, because I know that I have friends who at the age of 9 years old were paying their parents' bills, and I just think that no 9-year-old has to go through that. But I also think that your parents did make that sacrifice for you to have a better future, and the least you can do is help them with some paperwork. But in overall, I just think that I hope this helped you guys.